Hello and welcome back to another episode of Airdrie Inside. I am your host, Chris Glass. As always, the show is brought to you by our sponsors. So I'd like to give a big shout out to Coliseum Athletics. Coliseum Athletics is helping train athletes in our city and in Northwest Calgary. Check out Willie Snipes on Facebook and Instagram and Coliseum Athletics there as well. My guest is Tare Rennebohm. Tare, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Now, Tara, you are a devout member of the arts and culture community here in Airdrie. So I wanted to have you on because you have an event coming up, and I want to talk about that a little bit, but I want to talk about you as well. So why don't we start with the event that's coming up on the 8th?
So on February 8th, we are going to be having the Mayor's Night of the Arts. And, it's pretty self-explanatory in the title. We have many awards to give out on this night and celebrate a number of the artists that are in Airdrie. And we have performances
Excellent.
from local artists, and it's a really fun event. Yeah.
So what kind of performances are we talking about? Like musical performances, theater? What are we expecting?
Well, we do try to highlight as many types of performing arts as we can. So there is the goal to have a variety of performances without saying too much, because I do like when people get to see the announcements on social media. We will have musical performances, dance performances, and there will be yes, I can say this, I think. There will be a magician. So there, all the different kinds of performing arts will be there. Yeah.
So tell me how you got involved with your Mayor's Night of the Arts.
Oh, well, it is a little bit of a funny story, I suppose. I have been uh, a amateur performer in the city for a number of years. I work with Nose Creek Players Community Theater. I've worked with Crooked Cinema, so just some fun performance-based things. And one day, Tina Petro was running the event, and she called me up and said, "Hey, we need somebody to be on stage for the Mayor's Night of the Arts to help with transitions and be entertaining. Would you consider being a mime for
Oh,
the event?" Yeah, and I was like, "Well, I've never really done that before, but I could, I could give it my best shot." And so I was a mime 2 years ago for the event, and it was to help with transitions. And and my fellow colleague Haley Day was my counterpart as a mime as well. And yeah, we went on stage, and it was really, in a lot of ways, easy because we didn't have lines to memorize. We didn't have anything dialogue, but it was quite challenging in the sense that we had to time things pretty carefully to make sure that the night went on smoothly, right? So there was definitely some challenges, but it was really fun there for a couple months because people were like, "Were you the mime?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that was me." Because very very different when you have a white tableau on your face or whatever the phrase is. So that's how I got involved, and um, then the following year I was. Hired, let's say, I don't know if that's the correct term, hired on Airdrie Arts and Culture Council, a new council in the city, newly formed. And there was an opportunity for the Arts Council to consult for the mayor's night. And I said, "Hey, well, I've been involved," so I raised my hand and said I could help consult with Al Jones. Al Jones was running it after Tina Pentro that year, and so I consulted with the president of the Arts Council, Tara Pickford, and we have now taken over the planning and organization of the event. So now I am the chair of the planning committee. So It's a very funny, like humble beginnings to where I am now for the event. Yeah.
Well, I never thought I'd be able to say this, so I'm glad these words are going to come out of my mouth here. But tell me the person behind the mime. So, tell me a little.
Oh man, the person behind the mime.
Yeah.
Uh, well, the first thing that pops to my into my head, if we are to reflect on my journey to where I am now, is actually very relevant to your podcast, as a individual who is very involved in the sports community. I was a very accomplished athlete growing up, and uh, my sport was soccer. I was a very invested soccer goalie, and I found a lot of success in the sports field. But there was right when I was about when I was transitioning into high school. My sister had a big influence on me. She said, "You're doing really well in sports. What if?" She's like, "Hear me out. Like, what if you went to a performing arts high school?" And she's like, "There's sports teams there. You can do all of that. But what if you just gave performing arts a try? See if that's something you like." And I had done a couple things in the past, like arts classes here and there. I was like, and she convinced me, along with my parents encouraging me to try something, not just sports.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Oh, my high school career was super, super funny because I was on basically every sports team that school could provide because it wasn't very popular sports in comparison to the fine arts. So I just kind of like walked onto pitches. That was a lot of fun.
Well, was
But why I bring that up is because
it?
I find that my sports career has waned over the years. Like I'm getting older in my age, and boy, has all of the arts experience from that from high school stuck with me and really kind of uh, brought me to this place. So yeah,
So when you were back in high school, what were you in plays? Tell me more.
I was in one acts. There were some very amazing performances, full productions that the school did. Like the first ones that come to my head are Oliver, Wizard of Oz, things really grand scale performances. And I did audition for them, but I was not so successful. It was I had I was I was my time was divided, and my focus was never fully secured on the arts, or in a lot of ways even on sports. So I was very scattered as a young man. So I don't think I was able to fully commit to these full productions and not have a lot of training. So I didn't make those, but I did get a lot of experience in something called one acts, where um, much shorter performances, less kind of time commitment, and it was all student directed at the time.
Yeah.
So it was more collaborative versus like sit down and listen to me as your director. So I did a lot of one acts, and I did a lot of dancing because at the time somebody said like dancing would really help my athletic career, and in a lot of ways it did. I like it's
Right.
strength training and agility and things like that. So I did a lot of dance, and I did a lot of acting, one acts, and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then and was that based in Calgary or was that based here in Airdrie or?
So the performing arts high school I went to was Vic in Edmonton,
Okay. And
and yeah,
was Edmonton always home or?
Edmonton was where I was born and raised. And then I shuffled around. I went to Vancouver for a couple of years, and the I found my way to Calgary, and then finally in Airdrie.
So that's how you got to Airdrie. I want to talk a little bit about the arts and culture scene in the city before we get to the event. So, can you give me some color on what's going on that people might not know about in the city?
There are a number of amazing non-for-profit groups in this city that are working tirelessly to bring the arts um, here in Airdrie, and it is very endearing. It's and that's why I find myself working with so many groups is because it's so collaborative
Right.
and so supportive. And I can't say no. I can't say no to these people. They work so hard and they're so inspired and passionate about bringing the arts. And it just brings me back to when I was in high school and we would do these projects and you would create such a powerful bond and from start to finish see through something to the end. Like as a sports analogy, you have your team and you go to a tournament or you're going to a particularly challenging game and you rely on each other and you say it's going to work out no matter what. And the outcome is always spectacular, regardless of what your expectations were. So it's very, if I were to say what's happening in Airdrie right now, it's so new. Everything is new. All of the arts initiatives that I have found myself being a part of are new and exciting, and they're reaching out. Like these boards and these groups of people are reaching out to the community, saying, come experience this, or come volunteer with us and support this initiative. So what's happening in the city is lots of festivals. Um, many uh, many community-based collaborative activities. So community theater is seems to be getting more and more supported by other groups, and people are seeing value in that. Boy, culture days, man, that was so much fun, and I that was really inspiring because when we talk about the fine arts, we have to acknowledge the link to multiple cultures in our community. And I got to see so much art on July 1st with the Culture Fest,
Well, I'm
and
so
that was
glad you brought
awesome.
that up. My wife was the chair of the Culture Fest planning committee, and
Oh,
they're looking forward to another amazing festival coming up on July 1st. Uh,
oh man, they
we're
they
looking
did
at it.
amazing, amazing. It was so awesome. Wait, like, please share my kudos because that was such a successful event. Wow.
So there you go, Kim. We're giving you a shout out on the pod and all the work your board is doing. But that day was really like what blew me away about that day wasn't necessarily the amount of people that were there because that was overwhelming. There was way more people than we expected, but just the diversity and the depth of the presentations and the performances we had were just you know a lot of people probably don't know that this is taking place in our city and this exists. So it was
Yeah.
such a great showcase to see all that. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That was something I thought was a great moment for our city.
Oh yeah. And I look forward to supporting in the years to come, either just by being a participant or a spectator or in any other regards, right? Because uh, I I've learned over the years working with these groups is that when we support each other, the strength of the event or um, let's say the diversity of whatever final project you're trying to create just skyrockets, right?
Right.
And it's very that seems to be what my passion is steering me towards is like, hey, who can I work with next? Who can I support in the city and see what we can put on for this thriving community of ours, right?
Well, and I think back when I moved to Airdrie in 2006, and this has been like a I guess a passion of mine is on Fridays, all the cars going into Calgary to find something to do.
Yeah.
You used to not be able to find arts in the city or culture in the city, culture events in the city, or even sporting events in the city. It was always heading to Calgary to go do something, and we were really losing out on something to keep people in the city. So I do think arts and culture have such a huge part in keeping Airdrie dollars in Airdrie and keeping our city kind of thriving. So, what kind of things can people look to stay in Airdrie and to see from the arts community?
Well, that brings me to uh, the Arts Council I'm a director on. So Airdrie Arts and Culture Council has addressed the need to advertise what is happening in the city. Um, we are dedicated to creating a website, a schedule
Yeah,
for the city, and we want the goal to be to on every day, if you want to do something in the city, we want to show you what's happening.
right,
And that ranges from live music in restaurants and bars to local performances, open to the public, many different types of uh, activities that are happening in the city. So that's our goal with a focus with the performing arts, right? Like that. There's many things happening in the city, but we really want to, because we don't want to overwhelm the community with saying all the things that are happening, mostly with the fine arts, right? Yeah.
well, that's excellent. And that brings me to the night on February 8th. So, talk to me about what goes into planning an event like this. Because I've been on the Airdrie Fest committees, I've been on Homecoming, but I don't think the average person knows the amount of work and the amount of planning and the amount of time that goes into this. So, walk me through what planning February 8th has been like for you.
Well, for me as the chair, it has been helping with communication with my team, which I'm not really great at. I I feel like I'm a good listener and a good performer, but this has really taken me out of my comfort zone.
Right.
So as chair, I'm making sure that all my planning team is able to get what they need and communicate with each other to move from one stage to the next stage to the next stage. So the planning starts with uh, figuring out when the event's going to be, making sure that it lines up with the mayor's schedule, and that we can have these key people for the event. So step one, does the timing work? And I I rely heavily on my event coordinator, Peggy Buzzard, and she's been doing some amazing things in this city. I tell you, she is running around this city in every day of the year here doing amazing things. So she is a great event coordinator. She then has reached out to performers in the city to bring them to this event saying, hey, we would really like to showcase your work during the evening. And that is a huge component of it. And I rely heavily on Peggy to do that.
We have
Uh,
that in common because I've relied heavily on Peggy for a couple of events as well. The
yeah,
city owes that woman a great debt of gratitude.
it's very, very true. And she is up for Champion of the Arts this year, which is an award uh, that tries to showcase and celebrate the amazing people in the city that are pushing the arts forward, right? Supporting and really pushing the arts into the public eye. And I couldn't think of anyone better to get a nomination for that award. So that's a big part of it. I Another side of this is our nomination process, which it goes on for 1 to 2 months, and we ask the community to nominate people in Airdrie, um, or that support Airdrie. Like we do have some flexibility around, maybe this individual doesn't live in Airdrie, but they are supporting it every day. They work here in Airdrie, perhaps. There is some flexibility about being specifically local for the Airdrie events, but for local artists, right?
Right.
But for example, there's a Fine Arts Educator Award. There are educators in the city that do not live in the city, but they are working very, very hard to develop arts here in the city. So there is some flexibility there. So the nomination process goes on for a couple months, and we collect all that information, and then we have to find amazing volunteers to adjudicate
Right.
these nominations and create our finalists. And that's pretty much the stage we're in right now. We have our finalists. We have our wonderful volunteers that's went through that process of reading the bios and understanding what the individual has done for our city. And now we are in the final stage here, because February 8th, and we are looking for sponsors. We are selling tickets. This is where we really want to make sure that the event can raise money to celebrate these amazing people, because with sponsors comes larger prizes for
Yes.
the awards. And we are this is where it takes a huge team,
Right.
specifically the mayor. The mayor does support us a lot with connecting us with individuals that want to support the fine arts and sponsor the event. And we are very grateful for his efforts in this regard, and hence the Mayor's Night of the Arts. The mayor is a crucial part of this event to make sure that um, introductions are made, and the people that want to support the arts know about this event and are brought to us. So yeah, and that's and for notice how I've been saying how many other individuals have been involved in this process. For every hour I work, somebody else is working 10 hours.
Yeah.
It is a huge undertaking, and uh, I cannot celebrate this event without talking about these amazing people that are helping, right? That are volunteering.
I think that's what's so incredible about our community. I mean, we're such a large city when you look at population. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Numbers are going up, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a big small city where, you know, you can get a group of people together and put on events like this, and it doesn't have to be this big corporate effort. It can be community led and community powered, if you will, and I see that in so many different communities. So it's one of the reasons why I love the city so much, is seeing exactly that, is seeing people like Peggy, people like yourself, pull these events together.
And that's why I just find myself being drawn to uh, these amazing groups of people. And when somebody says, "Hey, would you like to work with these people?" I put my name in the hat every time.
It's hard to say no.
Uh, yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, and I find that the recreational side of Airdrie is going to be so powerful in these next developing years, because we are growing. And if we have these strong foundations, the more individuals that come into our city are going to have opportunities to be a part of these projects, and
Right.
find their niche within the city. Man, there's I wish I knew this person's name, but somebody recently just contacted the Airdrie Arts and Culture Council, the AACC, the board I'm on, and they have recently moved to Airdrie, and their resume was jaw dropping. They
Right.
have curated so many galleries throughout the whole world, like, and we're just like, we all just got so excited. We really want to work with this person, and or steer them in the direction that, like, hey, maybe be a part of this initiative in the city, because it's just so exciting. The more people that are going to come into the city, we want to make sure that they understand what's happening.
Right.
Right? It's just going to strengthen our community in so many ways. Yeah.
Well, and when you can really unlock that, it becomes so vibrant. It's just excellent. Uh,
Yeah.
where do you think you kind of hinted on it in your last answer, but where do you think the arts and culture community in Airdrie is going? Like, what's the future look like? I know with the public library opening, the Inspire Center opening, we're going to have more space for uh, arts and that world. But where do you think it's going in the next 5 years?
Um, I think the more support the nonprofit groups that are developing here in the city, I think they're going. I think the support's going to increase.
Right.
Um, and with that support will come more events, more opportunities for community to get involved. I think that's going to keep increasing. I think Airdrie has an opportunity to continue to look at building infrastructure for the arts. So
Right.
we've had some very cool uh, developments, the library, the amphitheater at Nose Creek Park. These are all really great steps, but there was the buildings, Airdrie buildings, let's say survey, that's not the right word, but
Yeah.
recently the city put out like a survey to say, hey, what do you think we should do with these buildings? And I know that myself and a number of other arts groups really advocated for more art spaces,
Yeah.
because you're right, the library is going to have um, multiple spaces for the arts to be showcased and celebrated, and I'm very excited about that. And what I'm looking towards is a even a larger space, something like a convention center, a cultural center, just bigger, all around bigger spaces to put on bigger, more elaborate performances. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for.
I do see a need as somebody who does organize a ton of events, and if it doesn't fit in the town and country, you're kind of left looking to Calgary or to other cities for a venue. So I would like to see venues built here for multi-purpose areas for sure.
Multi-purpose areas. Yep, there are, and we can look to a number of communities in Alberta that are doing this, have done this, and the the evidence is there that it does strengthen your community. It brings mental health up. It draws more business. It supports small businesses as well, right? Local and small businesses see an increase uh, when we bring more opportunities for arts to be celebrated in the community. Yeah.
Well, an
So
average family that spends time in Airdrie coming into our city for an event, regardless of what the event is, spends on average about $200 for that family in our city.
oh,
So,
that's a good stat.
like I couldn't agree more that the more we could have events and even micro events, like you said, even somebody playing at a bar that people know about. Um, it keeps the money here and it keeps our infrastructure growing here. So it's always been kind of my ulterior motive with the city is to make sure that we have things here. So that's great to hear. Uh,
And I want to touch base on something that hits also home for me, is the mental health side of the arts. I do find myself being very passionate about people that are going through a transition in their life, maybe due to loss, divorce, things like that, and they find themselves at a crossroads with their communities and they're not sure where to go. And I personally, when I went through my divorce and I had a lot of um, not a lot of free time, but I had free time on my hands. Um, oh, this was Tina Petro actually as well. Boy, that person had a big impact on my life. Um, Tina Petro heard me doing a reading, like a reading to a class, and a grade one class, and she suggested that I get I audition for community theater here in Airdrie, the Nose Creek Players. And ooh, I have a picture here actually. And so here I am. Um, and this was a turning point in my life. And I really hope that anybody who is maybe going through something in their lives, that they think about a different community that they can get involved in, whether it be sports, whether it be the performing arts, visual arts, that they feel like they have that opportunity in their community to help them through and find joy in something they may not have um, had access to if they didn't know about it, right? So yeah, I'm very passionate about that.
Well, yeah, that you kind of like coming from the sports world. It's the same but different, right? It's a different avenue, but it's the same result of people finding a place in their city, in their home where they belong, and where they can be themselves, and where they can be
Yeah.
supported and comforted, right? And so the more communities we have, the better that's going to be for the whole. And I'm just glad that you're taking the opportunity here to lift up a community that a lot of people may not know about or may not know is so vibrant.
Yeah.
Well, Tara, you have an excellent program coming up on February 8th. I'm going to give you one last plug. Tell us where to buy tickets. Tell us how to become sponsors, and tell us how to support it.
Boy. So the event is going on at Burt Church Live Theater. So if you Google Burt Church Live, uh, tickets are on sale for February 8th through that website. The first thing that many people that move to Airdrie need to know, that Burt Church is not a church; it's a theater. So it is one of those funny kind of like, oh yeah, you spend a lot of time here, it just becomes second nature. But the first thing you need to know is that that's our theater, right?
Right.
I always find that funny. So please Google Burt Church Live Theater and purchase tickets for February 8th. If you are interested in sponsoring, we have a range of different types of sponsors and sponsorship programs and donation opportunities. The best way to do that is to get in touch with the AACC, which is Airdrie Arts and Culture Council, and we will provide the information to you and how you can get involved. If you see me walking on the street, stop me and say, "Hey, like I'd like to get involved." That's a secret, like hope of mine one day, is that I'm just out walking my dog and somebody has, "Hey, I think I recognize you. Can you help me with this?" And I go, "Yes." That's a secret hope of mine. I'll be very, very happy when I can help people just on the street.
Well, Tara, this has been a pleasure talking to you and a pleasure getting to know you a little bit better. I know we've crossed paths in the past, but I've never really had a deep dive conversation with you. So I appreciate your passion and your love of Airdrie, and thank you so much for spending some time with me this afternoon.
Thank you for all you're doing in the community too, Chris. It is, I think you've really hit the mark with um, placing your valuable time into something as important as this, is connecting our community through conversation. And uh, I think uh, it's just great to be here with you right now, and like you said, getting to know you more on a personal level, just all around, just you're hitting the mark, my friend. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you to everybody who's listening to the show. We're going to be back with more great episodes of Airdrie Inside shortly. We will be releasing the show weekly. So look for it on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And you can follow us on Facebook and at airdrieinside.com or .ca.